Covering the political landscape along the I-4 corridor. Welcome to Political Connections.
And welcome to Political Connections, everybody. I'm Yvette Brusoil. Chances are you know that there's an election this year where you will select Florida's next governor. But what you may not realize is that there are more candidates in the race than just the Republican and Democrat. And one of those candidates joining us today, Libertarian Party of Florida gubernatorial candidate Adrian Wyllie, here in studio.
Thanks, Yvette. Good to be here.
Listen, you have a radio background. You've done this a thousand times. We'll get to this, to your background in the media and your race for the governor in a moment. But first off, I want you to give us your pitch on who you are, because many folks watching right now may have possibly heard about you, but they don't really know much about you.
Sure. Well, obviously, the Republicans and the Democrats have for many years controlled politics in this country, in this state. But that is changing. The Libertarian Party is really coming along, and we're hearing from people that they are tired of the two-party duopoly, if you will. So that's really why you're starting to hear libertarians. You're starting to see libertarians in the media because the people are demanding it. They're demanding that true economic freedom and individual liberty that the Republicans and Democrats aren't providing. Individual
liberties, I think some in the Republican Party would say, hey, that's our mantra. And Democrats would say, we love America too, but explain really what is a libertarian?
Well, you know, the libertarian is someone who believes that government shouldn't be involved in our lives. People should be free to live their own lives as they see fit, as long as they're not harming anyone else. And Republicans love to talk about fiscal conservatism, but at every opportunity, they seem to increase budgets, raise debts. They give a tax cut here and there just to make everyone feel good, but by and large, they are not fiscally conservative. That's just a talking point for them. On the other hand, the Democrats love to talk about civil liberties and individual freedoms, but yet when it comes to things like NSA spying or you know, personal freedoms across the board, they seem to have no problem passing those laws. Libertarians really stand on principle across the board. We're not for corporate welfare. We're not big proponents of individual welfare. We believe in the freedom to succeed or fail, and that government should play a minimal role in our lives.
I want to talk about the your 7-point economic plan, which is very interesting. We went to your website, we checked it out, and we break everything down as you would see it fit. Dramatically cut the size of state budget, cut taxes, reduce unnecessary regulation, which you just mentioned, keep the federal government out of Florida's economy. You just talked about that. And you also say protect Floridians from a potential dollar crisis, sell a portion of the state's non-recreational land holdings. That's a big, big task. And prosecute mortgage and banking fraud. You say all of these combined will help to restore and grow Florida's economy. Get a little more specific. How so? Specifically, the prosecuting mortgage and banking fraud. This has been a huge Achilles heel for Florida. I mean, out of the 50 states, this has been a huge problem here for us.
Oh, it has. It has. It's been a massive problem. And, you know, I know people personally who have lost their homes. The banking industry has really engaged in a lot of fraudulent practices. They foreclosed on people when they didn't hold the note because they'd already sold it on the secondary market. They've engaged in robo-signing, taking away the right of due process of homeowners. And, you know, we need to put an end to that. When the housing market collapsed, the first reaction of Republicans and Democrats in Congress was to bail out the banks. A libertarian would say, you know, hey, banks, you made the mistake. You need to stand or fall on your own merit. And that would have actually prevented a lot of homeowners from losing their homes. So we do need to go after those in the banking industry that have committed fraud. And I've seen a lot of evidence to that effect that it's going on.
Regarding taxes, you have proposed 100% homestead exemption. So people would pay no property tax on their home, as well as reducing state sales tax from, you say, 6% to 4%. I mean, when I look at the big picture, where does the state, you know, where do they make up for reducing revenue that would be coming in with taxation?
Well, we wouldn't actually be reducing the gross sales tax. What we would be doing is when we cut the state budget by 30%, currently the state collects 6% sales tax. And if your county has an additional sales tax on top of that,
many of them do,
that goes to the county. When we cut the state budget by 30%, we can reallocate a portion of the state sales tax to the county. So, for example, Orange County may go to, the state collection would be 4%. The county would receive an additional 2% of the sales tax. So essentially, no one pays homestead tax.
That just sounds so extreme. You know what I mean?
Right.
It sounds really intense for some people looking at the big picture. Like, this has never been done, but it just seems so dramatic.
Well, see, that's the thing. At this point in our time, we've gotten to such a stage where, you know, the actions of government have so damaged the economies, have so harmed job growth and small business innovation and creation, that we need to take actions that the establishment, Republicans and Democrats, would think of as dramatic. But in reality, it's just getting back to a sane fiscal position for the state of Florida. And, you know, for the counties, it should be revenue neutral because of the offsetting increase in the proportion of sales tax that they receive.
All these figures are just kind of floating in my head. I'm going, oh my gosh. Let me ask you this: when you have these ideas and you put on your table, it's on your proposal, it's on your website, it's your platform.
Sure.
How would you get state legislators to be on your side, and also
Right.
folks at the county level, because you just mentioned them?
Well, one of the reasons that I'm running for governor is the governor has a unique power, and that is the veto. And essentially, I have 4 criteria for any bill that hits my desk. Is it constitutional? Can we afford it? Does it solve the root cause of the problem? And is it a necessary and proper role of government? So chances are I'm going to be vetoing a lot of legislation because I've been following the legislation coming out of Tallahassee for many, many years, and most of them don't meet that criteria. So in order to get things done, if the state legislature wants to get things done, eventually they're going to have to work with me on these key components of my economic plan.
I want to hear your position when it comes to marijuana. Of course, that's been floating around for a while about medical marijuana.
Right.
But you're standing, I just want to get this straight, you are for the legalization of marijuana.
That's correct.
Period.
Yeah.
Explain. I
support Amendment 2, but I think it's a step towards complete decriminalization of marijuana because, you know, I look at that as I look at so many things through the veil of the Constitution, through the veil of freedom. Does government have the authority to tell people what they do in their private lives? Does government have the authority to tell people what they put into their body, so long as they're not harming anyone else? Now, if you're under the influence and driving and a risk to others, that's a different story. But if you just want to use recreational, I think that ought to be an individual choice, and government shouldn't be involved.
The financial impact, of course, would be great
Sure.
for the entire state of Florida, because now it becomes, you know, it's against the law, but now it becomes a business. So there's regulation, and, you know, what's wrong with somebody, you know, having entrepreneurship, you know, goals and try to, you know, have a place to sell medical marijuana. You're for legalizing all of marijuana,
Right.
but how would you regulate that? Because, you know, right now it's, you know, it's against federal law.
Well, right now it's actually easier for someone, a minor, a child, to get marijuana than it is to get a 6-pack of beer. We should regulate marijuana like we do alcohol.
Instead of banning it, just make money controlling it.
Sure,
Okay.
absolutely. And, you know, it would actually be safer because you have to remember the only time in this country's history when people were killing each other in the streets over alcohol is when it was prohibited during the Prohibition era. And the same is true. When you start to legalize marijuana, you're not going to have the associated violence. You're not going to have the criminal element that goes along with it. And it's going to be more difficult for kids to get their hands on.
Finally, I have to ask you, give me your elevator pitch. In 30 seconds or less, tell us, or anybody watching right now, why they should vote for you for the next governor of Florida.
Well, the reason is that, you know, the Republican and Democrat politicians have failed. They've made promises to you that they haven't delivered on. And if you want something different, if you truly want change, you have to change the way you vote. I believe that most Floridians want government out of their bedroom, out of their business, and out of their wallets. And that is what the libertarian philosophy is going to provide, and that's what I will do as governor of the state of Florida.
Adrian Wyllie, thanks so much, Libertarian candidate for governor. We appreciate your time here on Political Connections.
Thanks
for coming in. And now it's time for this week's Political Connections viewer poll question. It's a hot topic, so we're still asking you this. Who would you vote for in the 2014 race for governor? Log on now to mynews13.com/politics and cast your vote.